Canadian crackdown on Christians who refuse to limit worship gatherings. I've got a new church to report on today. Got a lot of messages from one parishioner of the church. It's amazing what is going on. Most troubling with the government of Canada. After this video, I will be premiering this video that I made earlier today, The War on American Children, MacArthur Biden. This is a summary of today's sermon. Today is May 2, 2021. My name's Tim Hurd, the BTWN guy, and you're watching BTWN News on YouTube. Breaking news broke a few days ago. We've been talking about the Polish pastor. Remember the Polish pastor? This is the second time that the police and the health officials showed up at his church, and again he drove them away. Well, the Canadian government's getting pretty tired of his antics. Their words, not mine. And they have issued a warrant for his arrest. And what's been thrown around is the term a secret warrant for his arrest. I don't know what a secret warrant for his arrest. If the government wants to put a warrant out for my arrest, I didn't know that they have to notify you, but a lot of people are complaining that it's a secret thing that happened in court without his lawyer. The next update we get from this Polish pastor, will probably be his arrest. This is on the Washington Examiner website. Arrest warrant issued for Canadian pastor permitting police to do anything necessary to arrest him for restriction violations. The court is saying to the police, whatever it takes, get this guy in here. Arrest him. Protestia also reported, and it's also where I steal the thumbnail from for this video. Pastor who chased out quote-unquote Gestapo police from church faces new warrant. And they give a update on who the guy is. But here is the warrant, and they have highlighted it, and and they stole it from Rebel News. So I see the Rebel insignia through it. Arthur Pawlowski and any other person and hereby restrained from obstructing, molesting, hindering, or interfering with any officer. Where's number one? Number one's not listed. Number 3, in the event of the respondent, the pastor, or any other person refusing to grant any executive officers access to their premises, or hindering or interfering with executive officers in the exercise of his or her powers, then any member of any police service as defined in this law enforcement code shall be permitted to consider appropriate to gain access to shall be permitted to use such responsible force as they consider appropriate to gain access to the premise and allow the executive officers to exercise his or her powers. The lady has come twice, and the pastor has chased him out. Hasn't gotten physical at all. The police haven't got physical. The health officials haven't got physical. The pastor hasn't gotten physical. The pastor simply raises his voice and says, "Get out! Get out! Get out of here!" And now the judge is saying, it's on. Bring him in. Also highlighted down here under number 3, any member of the law enforcement is authorized to forthwith arrest that person, restrain him or her, and bring him or her in at the earliest possible time. It is further ordered that in making an arrest under this order, law enforcement is authorized to do anything necessary to carry out the arrest, including the use of as much reasonable force as may be necessary to make the arrest, and without warrant to enter any place where on reasonable grounds law enforcement believes that the offending person may be found. So this was issued earlier this week, and I know that they worship on Saturdays. So I'm wondering why we didn't get any update on Saturday. I have Googled his name and his church, searched his YouTube channel, and I find no update. So be praying for this pastor and that church. We've got two more pastors, two more churches to talk about, but first go to BibleThumpingWingNet.com and give me your email address, that yellow bar on top. You can put your email address in there. You'll get updates on what's going on, not only with my YouTube channel, but other other content that's being produced under the banner of Bible Thumping Wingnet Network. It's all right there at the website. And while you're there, please consider clicking on support our ministry. Thank you very much. And we go on. Pastor James Coates, his trial is tomorrow, begins tomorrow. It's expected to go for 4 days and then stop. Because one of the main things that his lawyers want to bring up is that the government in Canada cannot prove that COVID is such a danger that they need not meet. And the government said, hey, we are not ready to present our evidence that the codes that we're enforcing, the COVID laws and COVID restrictions that we've made here in Canada, we're not ready to prove them scientifically. We need more time. You would have thought they would have come up with their proof for scientific evidence for the lockdowns and restrictions before they put the lockdown and restrictions in place, but they didn't. And the question is, can you listen to or watch the trial? The judge says, no, you can't watch, but Protestia is reporting, despite not allowing video in the proceedings, the judge did consent to let 1,000 people listen to the trial virtually through WebEx, which is the court's virtual software. He could have allowed more people to listen, but he chose not to. The link to the software has not been made public yet, but we will post it here as soon as we have access to it. Another interesting tidbit from the trial: the lawyers who are defending the government, or the prosecutors, their names will not be made public. It's like they're in hiding. It's like they're afraid. The third and final church is this one. And I've heard about it. I'm sure a lot of you have. A lot of you have sent me information about it, but one of the parishioners of the church sent me a whole bunch of links this week. Canadian church has 26 charges before the courts and faces $30 million in fines and jail time. $30 million in fines. I believe there's an update somewhere. It's up to $40 million in fines. This one Canadian church faces. Let me read this again from Protestia. While the church at Gracelife, that's Pastor James Coates' church, is hiding from the government, another body of believers on the other side of the country continues to be oppressed and persecuted for their insistence on having church services at full capacity despite the province's restricting attendance to 15% for months. The church's name is Trinity Bible Chapel in Waterloo, Ontario. They have been continually opposed by the tyrannical powers of the quote-unquote Conservative Party, whereas James Coates and Gracelife Church have faced arrest, jail time, and having their building barricaded. Trinity Bible Chapel has been repeatedly abused and squeezed by crushing financial penalties. Pastor Jacob, last name Reaume, I will not try to pronounce. Pastor Jacob has been fined thousands of dollars and faces jail time. The 6 elders have been fined thousands. The church has 26 charges before the court and faces $30 million in fines. They had a service in January that cost them $83,000 in fines and court costs, which are not able to be waived, removed, or appealed. Wow. Yo. More on this church. This is their church's website, trinitybiblechapel.ca. Our offense of worshiping Christ on Resurrection Day. Thought I had highlighted something there to read for you, but this was April 13th. He wrote an article about that particular instance. The Record is a website, therecord.com, and here's why the parishioner reached out to me this week. They just locked their church's doors. They locked the doors. Doors are being locked at Trinity Bible Chapel. This was May 2nd. This was reported today, May 2nd. Trinity Bible Chapel planned to host an online church service Sunday after a judge ordered the church building's doors to be locked to prevent in-person services. The church's parking lot was empty Sunday morning except for a handful of people who showed up at 9 a.m. and then left after 2 Waterloo Regional Police cruisers arrived. And if you want to read any more of that, you have to pay money to The Record. But we can go to their website, trinitybiblechapel.ca. Locations of I was poking around here as I prepared this video. And I see their location and service times listed. Our Sunday morning services are, and then they've got it's striked out. It used to say 9 a.m. and 11:30 a.m., but they crossed it out. For more information, let's click here and see where that takes us. We lost the building and kept the church. This is the pastor's testimony of how they got their building. They acquired their building from another church. Another church graciously, I don't know if they gave it to them or gave them a great price for it, but we lost our church building and kept the church. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let me do this. If you want to pause it, you can read the whole thing. March 29th, 2015, the guy became the pastor of the church. In June of 2019, another church chose to give them their access, including the building. And what I wanted to read was somewhere where this fine pastor had said that the Lord gave them a building and the Lord gave it up, took it away. Maybe it's down here. Here it is. Yes, here it is. This is from the pastor of this particular church, Trinity Bible Chapel. The threat we faced on March 2020 motivated many Christians to fearfully look to the state for salvation. Instead of salvation, they found bondage. Now we are faced with bondage, and we must not yoke with Belial to save us from the bondage. If we do, we will only demonstrate that we have not learned to trust God, and we will likely find more bondage as a result. Satan is always quick to offer salvation for a price. Sometimes Pharaoh himself makes the offer by way of an antichrist state, and other times it is his priests in their high priestly place of idolatry. May our eyes be upon the Lord, and may we seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, not first the benefits of the kingdom. We must trust him to grant victories when the kingdom is sought his way. We are kingdom fighters before we are freedom fighters. I'll leave the link to this article and the church's website in the description of this video. I really liked the title of this. We are kingdom fighters before freedom fighters, because a lot of believers, churches, have lost sight of that. They have become freedom fighters rather than kingdom fighters. Gestapo Nazis have come a-knockin'. There you go. So what is it now? It is 20 minutes before the hour. No matter where you are, it's 20 minutes before the hour. And I'm going to premiere this video in 20 minutes. Thanks everybody for stopping in for the live broadcast tonight. And subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Thank you for your comments. A lot of people have watched live. Thanks for stopping by. So subscribe, hit the bell button so you get all the updates and all that stuff. Okay. And in 19 minutes, the War on American Children, MacArthur/Biden, which is a summary of Pastor John's sermon today. Look forward to that. And I will see you over there.